our series of Economic Survey of India. Today is the fourth day, and we will be discussing the fourth chapter of Volume 1 of Economic Survey of India. Fourth chapter is talking about inequality and growth, conflict or convergence. This chapter is basically about, like, this chapter is mostly focusing on, does a market-led economy will lead to growth, but does it also increase inequality, and is that inequality harmful for us? So, at the beginning of this chapter, Economic Survey of India talks about last year's Economic Survey of India, which says that the ethical way of creating wealth in India, or the most optimal way of economic growth in India, will be when we combine hands of markets, invisible hands of markets, and the hand of trust. That is, last year's Economic Survey of India have given forward the idea of more of a market-led growth, more of a capitalist growth. This year's Economic Survey of India is talking about, will will this market-led growth or growth, capitalist way of growing, uh, will this increase inequality, and would that be harmful overall? So, for this, the first thing that we want to do is, like, in Western countries, in advanced economies, not specifically Western countries, but in advanced economies, it has been seen that the market led growth does increase inequality. In fact, they say that inequality is an essential feature of capitalism. And in advanced countries, increasing inequality has been found to be associated with deteriorating socio-economic indexes. For example, with increase in inequality, you would see crime rate going up. With increase in inequality, you would see the health indexes deteriorating. With increase in inequality, you would see educational opportunities being available to lower strata getting deteriorated. This is the scenario in advanced countries. Economic Survey of India is trying to analyze, will this be the case in India as well? And they are concluding, I'm directly coming to the conclusion, they are concluding that no, this would not be the case. In India, though more economic growth would lead to more inequality, but this inequality will be improving our socio-economic sectors. In fact, economic growth along with inequality will also lead to reduction in poverty, substantial reduction in poverty. So, Economic Survey of India eventually at the end will conclude in chapter 4, they'll conclude by saying that we must focus on economic growth in spite of the fact that that market-led growth, that capitalist growth will increase inequality, because this is better for us, because this will bring a lot of people out of poverty. It's not saying that redistribution is not important. Redistribution is important. Reducing inequality is important. But for redistribution to happen, first you should have a large pie. You should have a big economy. They also, like, in here we'll also talk about, they've also talked about China. China has been able to bring a lot of their population out of poverty. It is on track to eliminate the worst form of poverty by 2030. It has happened because of market-led growth. The focus on economic growth, which also increased inequality, has ensured that a lot of people come out of poverty. Now, many of you may be finding it counterintuitive. So, inequality is something that is undesirable. But Economic Survey of India argues against it. We'll understand why it's doing one by one. We'll look at all the arguments. Now, let's first come to growth, inequality, and socio-economic outcomes. India versus advanced economies. Like, how is growth impacting inequality and how is it impacting socio-economic outcomes? Here, in advanced economies, it was seen that growth, market-led growth, will lead to inequality, and inequality has deteriorated socio-economic outcomes. It has led to adverse socio-economic outcomes. Though because of growth, per capita income has increased, but it has had little impact on these socio-economic outcomes because the lower strata, the strata which is at the lowest end, has not been able to benefit and they have suffered. This has happened in advanced economies, but this isn't the case with India. This is what Economic Survey of India is trying to prove. It says that what Economic Survey of India has done, it has through various graphs. Like if you look at the original Economic Survey of India, like these graphs are not relevant for your mains examination, for your these would not be needed in your notes, so I have not included it. But generally, what they have done this thing. You'll see the fourth chapter of Economic Survey of India has many of these graphs where they are plotting like with increased economic growth. Like if economic growth is high, that is per capita income. If per capita income is increasing, what is happening to various socio-economic indicators like health, education, poverty, and then show you with per capita income increase, all these things are also increasing. At the same time, they'll also show you with increasing inequality. With increasing inequality. Because with economic growth, inequality is increasing. Also, all these indices are increasing, improving. Meaning, in advanced countries, with increasing inequality, these things are deteriorating. But in case of India, with increasing inequality, these things are improving. Economic Survey of India has done this analysis through a number of figures that they have shown there. Now, ESI has shown this for health outcomes, education, life expectancy, infant mortality, crime reduction. In fact, even birth and fertility rates also correlate with increased inequality and growth. With increased growth, increased inequality, we have seen that birth rate has gone down, fertility rates have gone down, indicating improvement in the situation. India has a high birth rate, India has high fertility rate. We are above our desirable requirements. So with increased economic growth and increased inequality, these things are also improving. Whereas in advanced economies, the socio-economic indicators deteriorated. In India, socio-economic indicators improved with economic growth and inequality. But in advanced economies, it deteriorated. This is the whole idea. Okay, now Economic Survey of India also shows that correlation between socio-economic indicators and inequality is robust irrespective of the measure of inequality. Like in what way you are measuring inequality doesn't matter. With inequality, our socio-economic indicators are improving. So they have measured inequality. They have measured inequality one by using Gini coefficient based on the assets, like inequality in terms of asset in the population. They have also used ratio of consumption of top 5% of the population to the bottom 5% of the population. This is another way of measuring inequality. Even on this basis, when inequality was measured, it was seen that when this inequality is increasing, that is, consumption of top 5% was becoming more and more than, and consumption of below bottom 5% was reducing, was becoming lesser and lesser. What it is increasing inequality, but even with this increase in inequality, what is happening? The socio-economic indicators are improving. This thing also remains same when we consider different time periods. For example, in 2004, the data shows that yes, the states which have higher inequality are at a better situation in these socio-economic indicators. Then, when we compare the data of 2014, we find the same thing. So, even with respect to time, with respect to different ways in which we are measuring inequality, what we are saying is with increasing inequality, the socio-economic indicators in the country is improving. That's counterintuitive. Till now, in our head, promoting reducing inequality was the focus. But economic survey of India is saying that increase growth, increase growth, increase growth. With increased growth, you'll have a increased inequality, but it will result into better socio-economic indicators and reduction in poverty. So the conflict which developed countries are facing, that with increased growth there will be increased inequality and then there would be problems that doesn't exist in India. With increased growth there will be increased inequality, but its socio-economic advantages would be better. Now this evidence also comes from China. Not only India, like in China, what was seen is like after 1980s when a lot of reforms took place there, their economic growth increased. Their inequality levels also went up. But over the years, they have been able to, with this increase in inequality, improve their socio-economic indicators. So, what Economic Survey of India is trying to say is, one, you can keep focusing on inequality, reducing inequality. By that, what you will end up achieving is everyone is poorer but equal. Or you can focus on economic growth that will lead to increased economic growth, increased inequality, but in general, situation of everyone would improve. Number of people who are below poverty line will reduce. That's what Economic Survey of India is trying to argue. Moreover, they're also saying that perfect equality is not optimal. Because if everyone is given equal status, equal resources, equal benefits, then it will reduce individuals' incentive for work, innovation, and wealth creation. For example, understand it in this way. If every teacher is paid the same salary, what would happen? A teacher who's performing better, who's working harder, who's using innovative mechanisms, will not be willing to do so. So, perfect equality is also not something that is desirable. For a developing country such as India, where the growth potential is high and the scope for poverty reduction is also significant, a policy that lifts a lot of poor out of poverty is more important. This will expand the pie and will benefit everyone. Okay, now will increasing inequality increase the number of people who are in poverty? So first of all, we need to understand the difference between inequality and poverty. Inequality refers to the degree of dispersion. That is, some people have a lot of resources, others don't. Degree of dispersion in the distribution of assets, income, and consumption. Some may be having a lot of assets, others not. Some may be having a lot of income, others not. Some may be consuming a lot, others may not have those kind of resources for consumption. This is inequality. With poverty, can be relative or can be absolute. When we talk about relative poverty, in relative poverty, poor people compare themselves with the people who have more resources, and they consider themselves to be poor. What we're more worried about is absolute poverty. So, in case of relative poverty, you can consider poverty and inequality to be same. Because if there would be inequality, there would be poor people who have less resources, they will consider themselves to be living in poverty. But what we're more concerned about is absolute poverty. In absolute poverty, the focus is on absolute level of assets, income, and consumptions. Now, here, increase in inequality may be accompanied by reduction in income. Why? Inequality is increasing, but when we look at absolute level, people at the lowest strata, their income is also increasing. So they will not be in poverty anymore. And it is the absolute poverty that is our focus. In fact, Economic Survey of India has quoted some experiments where even human beings as such, they it shows that absolute poverty is greater concern than inequality even for people in general. That is, dealing with poverty is more important for people rather than ensuring that equality should be there, inequality should be reduced. Okay, this in case of India, how has economic growth and inequality related with poverty? So here you will see that there is a strong negative relation between income and poverty. With increased income, poverty is decreasing, and This is the situation in 1993, 1999, 2004, and 2011. All throughout these years, when you look at number of people who were living below poverty, you would see that with increased income, poverty is decreasing. With increased income, what's happening? Inequality is increasing, but still poverty is decreasing. Whereas inequality and poverty does not have this relation. That is, if inequality is increasing, is poverty increasing? No, there is no correlation. Where here you can see systematic decrease. Now it's not important to understand the whole figure completely, whole graph completely, but broadly understand that this data, this analysis shows that with increase in income, poverty will reduce. But with reduction in poverty, with reduction in poverty, with reduction in inequality, is poverty reducing? No, headcount ratio, number of people who are living in poverty is still very high here. Okay, so this thing tells us that our focus should be not equality, not reducing inequality. Our focus should be, in case of India, our focus should be economic growth, even if it leads to inequality. Now, you may be saying that poverty's definition is very simple, like in terms of income. But even if you consider the poverty in terms of multi-dimensional poverty, which considers things like health, education, income, all those things together, even the multi-dimensional poverty seems to be reducing with increased income and increased inequality. So even in that way, we can say that our focus should be there. Now, these findings that we have talked about so far, so like from the very first page, we have been talking about increase in economic growth by the market mechanism will lead to increased inequality, but this is not harmful. In developing countries like India, this leads to improved socioeconomic indicators. This may not be the case with developed countries. With developed countries, this may be harmful, but this is not the case with developing countries. Okay, with developed countries, with increasing inequality, socioeconomic indicators are decreasing, but in developing countries, it is benefited. This evidence also comes from our historical data. Between 1970s and 1990s, we were able to reduce poverty because our GDP growth picked up from 3.45% in the initial years. Our inequality increased in these years, but still we were able to fight poverty. The growth की वजह से कितने लोगों को हम poverty से बाहर ले पाए? 87% of the decline in poverty took place because of economic growth. Only 13% of the decline in poverty took place because of redistribution. Land reforms and all led to redistribution of resources. Only 13% of the people were able to come out of poverty because of this. Remaining 87% of the people who came out of poverty, it was because of economic growth. Economic Survey of India have also quoted studies showing similar results from other developing countries. So overall, what we are saying is a developed country which has very low level of poverty may focus on reducing inequality, because then reducing inequality will benefit them socioeconomic outcomes. But a country like India, which has high level of poverty, should be focusing on elevating poverty, which would come from economic growth. All this data is about it. So from the very first phase to the last phase, the ideas which are being discussed are the same. Okay, so this was our fourth chapter. Now I want to take another 1 minute to announce our prelims current affairs program, target prelims current affairs program, which is starting on 12th of February. This will be a 4-month program, will go on till around June 12, June 13, whatever will be the Saturday, Sunday there. It will go on till then. In this program, we have 3 classes a week. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you will have classes. We try to cover all the resources possible. Like for those of you who know me, would know that my USP in covering current affairs is to ensure that you should not need to touch any other current affairs. So last 1 year, Hindu, Indian Express, Yojana, Kurukshetra, Budget, Economic Survey of India, India Yearbook, Science Reporter, Down to Earth will be exhaustively covered. Like from the perspective of examination, even the older things which may be 2 years old or 3 year old, but are relevant for 2021 examination would also be covered in these classes. Here we go topic wise, subject wise. Like we will be starting with science and economy from 12th of February. The first class will be on science, second class will be on economy. We'll go like this: science, economy, science, economy. We'll continue like this. You'll have science booklet 1, science booklet 2, science booklet 2. In the same way, economy booklet 1, economy booklet 2, economy booklet 3. So in this way, you'll have systematic subject wise class notes and coverage. In every class, we'll be focusing on solving objective questions. That is, after studying a few topics, we will solve a few objective questions from those topics. Moreover, you'll also have regular class tests, which would ensure that you are regularly revising everything. For example, once we're done with science and technology, you'll have a test on science. Once we're done with economy, you'll have a test of economy. Then we'll move on to the next topic, environment and polity. So when we are doing environment, at that time you should not forget science, you should not forget economy. So while environment is going on, there also we'll again put science and economy in the test, ensuring that you are regularly revising even the things which have been covered in the past. So this is a complete solution for your overall preparation of current affairs. Take feedback from my older students who have attended these classes in the past. You are definitely going to benefit from it. It's starting on 12th of February. The fee structure that we have kept is 10,000 plus GST. For our old students, for students who are part of level of IAS, for them the total fee would be 10,000. That is 8,000 something plus GST. But for all new students, the fee is 10,000 plus GST. So I hope to see you in the classroom on 12th of February. Thank you. Thank you very much.